Good pressure by Jarvis, and Jarvis will get it up to Jaaska. Jaaska back for Jarvis. He scores! Another shorty for Seth Jarvis against Chicago, and the Canes take a 1-0 lead. And now this one's worked in, and Kochetkov somehow gives it away, and then takes it right back, robbing Doc. Oh, it's coming the other way, drops it for Rantanen, his shot, he scores! Blake will come up with it. Blake looking for a shooting angle. That goes off the post. Rebounds available. They score! Jaccob Slavin cashing in and crashing in from the blue line. And just like that, 51 seconds apart, the Canes have a 3-1 lead.
Well, hi everyone. It's the Canes Corner podcast, and I am Adam Gold, and I hope all is well in your world, wherever that world may be. We are brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job. You should check them out. However, if you're in Bogota, Colombia, they don't service you. Shouts to you in Bogota. I believe it's not our first Southern Hemisphere, because we're huge in Australia. Meanwhile, we have not heard from Mikhailov all that much lately. Hope he's doing well. But shouts to you in Bogota. We got Callie Kaniaks checking in. Vero Beach, Florida. Elling, Denmark. Big day for Denmark with Frederick Anderson getting honored before the game. Montreal, High Country. I've been there a time or two. Denver, Colorado. I wonder why Denver, Colorado is checking in. Frankfort, Michigan. Bluefield, West Virginia. I mean, you're always here. Oklahoma City, OKC, very nice. And Michael in Montreal just doesn't want me to catch the virus. I was talking to Jordan Martinook today. Hopefully he's not a carrier, but my guess is that everybody in that locker room is going to get it. We would have loved it to kind of stay away for like another week so the Four Nations tournament could go and everybody could kind of stay away from each other for a while. And by the way, who is it? Will is in, first of all, was Will, I think, was joining us from the bottom of a bowl of turkey noodle soup. I love you people. All right. Let's see what we can accomplish in about another 30 minutes. So let's, first of all, this was kind of a weird game. Not a lot going on in the first period. It really was a little slow. As we say, not growing the game in the first period. Then Chicago gets the first penalty. The funny part about the first penalty was, if you were watching it, maybe you were here, I don't know. Shane Gostisbehere did not trip Colton Dach. No way, no how. He tripped his own teammate, and Colton Dach fell, and Shane Gostisbehere went to the box. All right. No big deal, because it just created a goal for the Hurricanes. Seth Jarvis, third shorthanded goal of the season. Carolina's sixth as a team. And frankly, I realized the second power play Carolina had was kind of a waste. It was late, all of that, and they really weren't trying to do anything on it. But the first power play they had was kind of mid at best. Carolina's way better offensively, shorthanded these days. Think about this. The Hurricanes have two power play goals since the calendar turned. That's it. Are we done? Yeah, we're done with January hockey. 2 power play goals in the month, 3 shorthanded goals. Trouble. But Carolina, not only did they have the shorthanded goal from Jarvis, but on Chicago's next power play, Carolina had 2 excellent scoring chances again, and actually had about a minute of zone time. I mean, they didn't set it up, but they had the puck in their offense, in the offensive zone for about a minute. And Chicago ultimately did get a pretty good scoring chance, but I think they had just the one shot on net on the power play. Anyway, the Seth Jarvis has been amazing. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Jackson Blake, illness. So let's deal with the illness first and what happened before the game tonight. So we kind of knew that Sebastian Aho was at best a game time decision. But very few people knew, because he was at the morning skate, that Taylor Hall was impacted. And by the way, there were other Hurricanes tonight that weren't feeling well, and I think you could tell by ice time. Sean Walker was one of them, and it's very likely that Shane Gostisbehere was another, because Gostisbehere didn't play a ton. Normally, Gostisbehere's ice time is up closer to 18, 19 minutes. And Walker's played so well lately that normally his ice time is up too. But Gostisbehere played basically 15. Walker played under 13. Again, Sean's been playing really well, so I have to assume that Walker and or Gostisbehere were also impacted, because Rod said that we had some guys play tonight who weren't really feeling great. So Taylor Hall, apparently, according to Rod Brindamore, they knew about 4 o'clock that he wasn't going to play. They had already summoned Ryan Suzuki earlier in the day. The timeline for Ryan Suzuki was he got the call at 2 o'clock, got on a flight at 3:10, didn't get to Raleigh until 5:30 because the flight was delayed from Chicago, and got to the arena dressed, boom, on the ice. He didn't play a lot. He actually was pretty good. He had one scoring chance where the puck jumped his stick. He had a very good defensive play in his own end, sweeping the puck away after Pyotr Kochetkov made a good save. So, only a little bit more than 6 minutes of ice time. But, hey, his NHL debut, it was the longest solo skate I've ever seen. Normally, they let you go out and do a lap. He went and did about 4 laps. He was out there for a long time. I'm looking down the tunnel like, where is everybody? It took a while for everybody to get out there. So he had his solo lap and all that. So his NHL debut. And I don't know if he's going to stick around, because we don't know what the status is for Aho and Hall for Saturday. And we also don't know who else might be impacted by this. I do know that Riley Stillman will be, I'm sure he didn't leave, because they'll probably put him back on the roster if they send Suzuki down. So the question was asked, where was Hall? I answered that, also ill. But I didn't see the question. I'm sure it's there. If it might be there already. Why did the Hurricanes have to play with just 19 active skaters as opposed to, 17 skaters plus 2 goalies? And the answer is the salary cap. Because right now, they could have, if they wanted to, place the player on IR, but they don't have the cap room to activate a player right now. And when you put a player on IR, he's still on your salary cap. So they didn't have the cap room right now to activate a player. This is what happened when they made all these deals, and they just barely fit it all under the cap. Now, what is likely going to happen, I think they're still determining whether or not William Carrier can return during the regular season. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Hurricanes just said, we can't really mess with it. Let's just long-term injured reserve him, because at the earliest, you're looking at probably, early April for him to come back. So why rush it? We've seen it done before. I think Nikita Kucherov, didn't he spend the entire season on the injured list before being activated for the playoffs, right? Whichever year that was. I think it was the crazy pandemic Central season. So ultimately, I think that's what they'll do. They'll LTIR Carrier, and then they'll have $2 million of his cap space. But what they're trying to do, and this is why they've been playing with the roster really all season long, what they're trying to do is build up some space so they can add some players to the roster. And right now, that's where the Hurricanes are. But they couldn't add a player. They didn't have the cap room. They sent Stillman down to call up Suzuki so they would at least have 11 forwards. And that's what I think. I don't know if you play one game with one man short, if the next game the league allows you by rule to add another player. We'll find out if a couple of players can't play, right? Otherwise, my guess is Suzuki goes back down, Stillman gets recalled, and if they are playing with 11 forwards, they can play with at least 7 defensemen. It's very possible that Riley Stillman could have been used tonight, considering how little Sean Walker played. All right, so that's the illness. Somebody asked, was Jack Roslovic patient zero? He might have been. I don't know. But this is what kept Roslovic out of the lineup in New York on Tuesday night. So Aho doesn't play. Hall doesn't play. Everything looks different. Roslovic in the middle of the top line with Rantanen and Jackson Blake. It's an unlikely number one scoring line. But Roslo was good in the faceoff circle. He was actually Carolina's best player in the circle. He won 11 of 17 faceoffs. So good for him. And I thought he played a very good game tonight. The assist on the Rantanen goal was fancy, right? He cuts to the middle. He sees Rantanen behind him. He skates inside. He a little blind behind the back drop pass for Rantanen, whose shot was deflected but got through and kind of slowly trickled across the line before I think it was Seth Jones could pull it out of the net. And that made it 2-1. We're kind of a little bit working backwards here. I'm really just talking about Roslovic. But I thought he played very well. I was a little surprised that Rod Brindamore put him on the top faceoff, on the top power play unit, as opposed to Jackson Blake, because I think Blake's been playing great. And we didn't really see the second unit apart from a few seconds. I think it's time to get Jackson Blake on the top power play, just for me. Especially if Sebastian Aho is not going to be there. They need another righty there. Right now, there's only one righty, and that's Jarvis in the top power play unit. I'd like to see the personnel change there a little bit. Hurricanes are now 2 for their last 42 with the man advantage. That is no bueno. So Roslovic played very well tonight. So he deserves his huzzas, if you will. All right, now working down on the things that I listed. Let's real quick talk about the shorthanded goal. That is like 90% Seth Jarvis and 10% pretty sneaky cool saucer pass from Juha Jaaska, who, by the way, had 2 assists tonight. And yeah, I know I've seen it in the chat, but I've said it before. Tripp and I talk about it, and you hear him talk about it on the air. Juha Jaaska is an NHL player. Carolina's got surprisingly good depth among the forward group. Keep this in mind. When Tyson Jost, who skated before the morning skate today, and I even stayed on the ice during the morning skate, when he is available, he will likely jump in the middle on the fourth line. Fully operational, you'd have Aho, Rantanen, and Blake, at least for now. Then the second scoring line, if you will, would be Kotkaniemi, Svechnikov, and Taylor Hall. Then you drop down to Staal, Martinook, and Jarvis. I like Carolina's top 3 lines, and I really like the fourth line too, because right now you'd have Tyson Jost in the middle, Eric Robinson on the left, and Jack Roslovic on the right. I would expect that line to score, right? And at some point, because he's going to wear down, at some point, Jackson Blake's going to have to get spelled from the top line. But I'm going to tell you this. I promise you, this is a kid that you don't want to take the opportunity away. He is a goal scorer. He is an offensive producer. He is creativity. He makes things happen. The puck sticks to his stick really well. He even comes up with pucks you don't really expect, but he also makes good plays in his own zone. I'm baffled because I see it. I'm baffled by the people who don't think Jackson Blake is good enough to play with top players. He is. The problem that Blake has right now is that he is not strong enough. When we get to the postseason, it's going to be harder for him. So ultimately, what I think will happen with Blake in the playoffs is that he'll drop down to a fourth line to manage his minutes, also to create more favorable matchups. Imagine this. Imagine a fourth line, because Tyson Jost can play. Robinson, Jost, and Blake. I'll bet you that line scores in the playoffs. I'll bet you it does. And whether it's Roslovic or somebody else playing among the playing on a top line. And honestly, I think ultimately here's where we're going to be. I think when we get right down to it, we're going to see either Svechnikov, Aho, Rantanen, or I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Hall, Aho, Rantanen. I think that's where we're going to head. Or if they put Jarvis back up there, you could see Rantanen on the left, Aho, and Jarvis. If Carrier comes back, Carrier will probably go with Staal and Martinook, and then you got major options. So, but Jackson Blake staying in the lineup. I don't get why people don't see what we see. All I see is Jackson Blake making plays. There's about a half dozen of Jackson Blake making great plays every single game. He had a back check where I guess it's a back check. It just wasn't in the defensive zone, where he lifted the stick. I believe it was of Seth Jones. He actually got Seth Jones with a high stick, so it might not be that one. But he lifts the stick, steals the puck, and creates a scoring chance. It's a dynamite player. The future is super bright for number 53. Just needs strength. Played 1904 today. Third most among Hurricanes forwards and a season high. And over the last 4, 5, 6 games, he's averaging over 17 minutes a night on ice. You go back to the beginning of the season, it was like 10, 11, occasionally like 13, 9. And I kept asking the head coach. I said, tell me about Blake. Tell me about Blake. He goes, we got to figure out a way to get him more ice time. Well, they figured out a way to get him more ice time. He is a dynamite young player. All right, Seth Jarvis gets the shorthanded goal. I mentioned his third shorty of the season, his 20th goal of the year. I said this last year. Second half of the year, and we're starting to see it now. Jarvis has been basically a point-a-game player for the last 30 games. I think he's got 30 points in his last 32 games. You talk to me 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and I'm not sure we're not talking about Seth Jarvis as Carolina's best player. Of course, I said that well before the trade for Mikko Rantanen. And if everything works out the way the Hurricanes hope it will, Mikko Rantanen will be their best player. But Jarvis is awesome. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. The things that he does both ends of the ice, I hope his shoulder stays okay the rest of the season. And depending on how this year ends, I would advise, if it's necessary, I would advise to just bite the bullet on the first half of next year and have him go get the surgery. At some point, he's probably going to need it. I'll just use Brett Pesce as an example here. You go back, this is before the Hurricanes made the playoffs, right? You go back however many years it was. And both Pesce and Victor Rask had shoulder surgery. Or not had surgery, ended the season early because of shoulder injuries. Rask opted for shoulder surgery. Pesce opted not. And ultimately, Pesce was dealing with shoulder issues and he'll always deal with them. He dealt with shoulder issues for like several years before ultimately needing shoulder surgery. And so you hope that Jarvis isn't quite what Pesce was, but Seth played, 2/3 of the year last year with a torn labrum and a rotator cuff. So, and I know he missed some time this year. Remember, he missed 7 games earlier in this season. He's got 20 goals. He's got 11 goals in his last 13 games. He has been absolutely dynamite. Almost just about every night, he's one of Carolina's best players. He has been tremendous. All right, I want to talk about the game's first star tonight. I have like an ongoing battle with the person. I don't know who does the 3 stars in the building. I really don't. And frankly, I don't think I want to know, because I'd have to fight this person. There's no way you could have watched tonight's game and not thought that Jaccob Slavin wasn't the best player in the building. I mean, he even provides you the winning goal, which I think an underrated, great athletic play. So regardless of how the play starts, Jackson Blake has the puck in the slot. Good save by Arvid Soderblom. I don't know how to say his name. Off his shoulder, off the crossbar. And then Slavin comes flying in from the left side, and under duress, while he's being checked, a bouncing puck that's airborne, he backhands it and whacks it in the net. That made it 3-1. It was a minute 7 after the Rantanen goal. That was a sneaky, underrated, amazing athletic play. And it was a goal that Carolina needed, because they were buzzing at that point. Honestly, the Hurricanes probably should have had 4. Roslovic, I think, with Jarvis, came in a 2-on-1. And a really smart play to almost fake a pass. And he had plenty of net to shoot at, just missed it wide. Just missed it wide to the far side. Really should have been a goal. But Slavin was just awesome tonight. And on the I'll just read you the numbers. He played 25. I didn't write down the number. He played over 25 minutes tonight. Led Carolina by a lot. He had the goal. He had 4 block shots. He was a +2. I think the 4 block shots doesn't really do it justice. I remember talking to Rod Brindamore after a game a couple of weeks ago where Jordan Martinook, I swear to you, had like 7 blocked shots, and they credited him with 3. Like, he had 3 in one sequence. And Rod just rolled his eyes and goes, those stats, those are always wrong. But this was the game that reminds everybody. Yes, that's why Jaccob Slavin is a stud, because of games like tonight. And I thought, by the way, him and Brent Burns together tonight were excellent. I know that there is an anti-Brent Burns lobby out there, and whatever gets you through the night. Brent was really good tonight. He did, however, turn the puck over for what I thought was Slavin's best play, which was a diving shot block with about 30 seconds to go. And about 20 seconds after that was when Slavin was whistled for the, I don't know, it was a trip or a hook or whatever it was, with 10 seconds left. The faceoff went to the half wall. Orlov tied it up, and ultimately Teuvo Teravainen couldn't get a shot off. But Slavin was just amazing tonight. I love Jalen Chatfield tonight. Both goals Carolina allowed were the product of like mistakes on the blue line. Shane Gostisbehere can't play a puck to keep it in. It goes right through him. It leads to the Ilya Mikheyev goal. Sean Walker was woefully out of position. And now I'm looking at the time on ice and remembering that Rod said that there were other players who were not feeling great. I'm assuming Sean Walker was that. I've already talked about it. But that was just a terrible, terrible defensive sequence. Dmitry Orlov misplayed a puck, fell down, lost his stick for the Connor Bedard goal. And we're going to get to the goalie in a second. So, like Carolina was their own worst enemy. So, I mean, really, Chicago didn't generate really much of anything tonight. Carolina generated for them. And then we get to the goaltender, who I thought for 2 periods into the third, I thought Kochetkov was excellent. I don't fault him on the first goal, right? I mean, he didn't attack it, but I don't fault him on the first goal. And it's hard to fault him on the Bedard goal, except that he kind of made it easy on Bedard, which I didn't like. But Kochetkov misplayed like 3 pucks tonight. It looked like he was trying to get 2 primary assists. But in each case, he made plays to mitigate his own damage. On the first one, I think you heard the highlight at the beginning of this. He gives the puck away to Colton Dach, like at the hash marks. And he flies back into the crease and makes a great save and then gets help to freeze the puck. It was a tremendous save, but it almost looked like he was trying to set up Colton Dach. And then the one on Ryan Donato, which ends up being a good save too, he gave that puck away, but it wasn't like point blank. At least that one was further up, deeper into the, closer to the blue line. But man, that one to Colton Dach was just here, score. Fortunately, Kochetkov made a great save, and Carolina in front of him was very good. And I thought for the most part, while it was a little messy and sloppy defensively, I thought Carolina in the final product, if you will, Carolina's defense was better than Chicago's offense. And until the third period, I thought Kochetkov was really good. I think allowing the Bedard goal kind of unnerved him a little bit, because I didn't think he was great after that. I thought he fought the puck after that. There were a lot of rebounds available after Bedard made it 2-1, or rather 3-2. But for the most part, I thought he was really good until the Bedard goal. I think that one kind of got to him, because if I'm going to guess, I think he believes that it's not that he should have had it. He believes he should have played it better, because he was wide open, just absolutely wide open, and he was sinking back into his crease. So you're better off attacking in that situation. I don't know. Connor Bedard's a special player. So I loved Kochetkov until that goal, and I thought he was a little shaky the rest of the way. Penalty kill looks really good. I think I mentioned this earlier. Power play. What is the opposite of really good? That's the Carolina Hurricanes power play at this point. And I know we could say all day long, well, it's Gostisbehere, blah. I am unless you're your blue line guy, in this case, Shane Gostisbehere, unless he's incompetent, and we know that's not the case with Shane, I think your power play is entirely about your forwards. That's the way I look at it. I think it will naturally get better with Rantanen in there. I'm not sure Carolina doesn't need another righty, and kind of maybe mix the units up a little bit. You don't have to mix them a lot, because you want your best guys all on one unit, but it would be really good to get a second righty in there. Because right now, all you've got is Seth Jarvis. Here's what I like and why I think the power play will ultimately get better. Look where Rantanen sets up. Rantanen usually plays behind the net. I love that. I love that. Part of Tampa's great power play back when they were winning back-to-back Stanley Cups, Alex Killorn, a lot of times, behind the net. I think when the Hurricanes have been at their best, not in this little run, but a few years ago, at their best, Vincent Trocheck below the goal line. I love that. Low to high. Give me low to high all day long. I think your power play gets better. Let's see. Did we cover it all? We covered that. The Kotkaniemi line was good, really good on the forecheck. They were a -2, but this is where I think the numbers can be deceiving. I think Svechnikov and Kotkaniemi were each -2 on the night. But I thought that line was good. I mean, legitimately good. And there was a lot of good tonight. They gutted it out. They were a little sloppy. But I thought that there were way more good moments than not. They just didn't get enough out of those moments. I really think they could have been ahead by not just 2. I think they could have been ahead by 3 or 4 before the Bedard goal. In fact, in the sequence right before Connor Bedard scored, Carolina had a couple of really good scoring chances, including Andrei Svechnikov. Just got to be able to elevate that puck. Just have to be. But, Andrei's been playing well. So we're going to let Andre be Andre and play well. But I do want to do this because I think it's worth playing what I believe to be the best play of the game for Pyotr Kochetkov. And the thing about this is that it happened, I believe, right after the Hurricanes made it 3-1. This is the second period. Right after the Hurricanes make it 3-1. I don't know how many of you remember
shot
this.
Right on. And Kochetkov kicks out the right leg, denying Bertuzzi. What a save, Pyotr Kochetkov.
First one was good through traffic before the Dazzler.
So it was a shot from deep, and Kochetkov was being screened in front, but he worked around the screen, made a solid save, and then Tyler Bertuzzi's side of the goal is going to stuff it in. And Kochetkov just flashed out the right pad, and he held it snug to the post. It was a very, very athletic save. Tyler Bertuzzi scored against Carolina back in Chicago. So there was plenty of good. Didn't love the way he played the Bedard goal that made it 3-2, and I thought he got a little flustered after that. We're going to have to hopefully Pyotr can move past that because you need him. He is a goaltender that needs to have confidence when he plays. And if there's doubt, it's going to hurt him maybe more than it would hurt other goalies, than it would hurt, let's say, Frederik Andersen, who, by the way, honored tonight for not only his 300th win, but his 500th game. And I was talking to Luke DeCock about this. I love Freddie. I mean, Freddie's been dynamite. That was a little much. That was a long ceremony. It was a long ceremony for Anderson. But, well, good. He has been a very good player for Carolina, and I hope he's got 4 more months of hockey in him. 4 more months? 4 months might be asking too much. But the hope is he can play 15 games between now and the end of the season and maybe another, 18 in the postseason. I'm telling you, Kochetkov's going to play in the postseason. It's not going to be the always Freddie show. I think you're going to see not a straight platoon. I think you'll see Kochetkov play like, let's just say every third game on average. That's what I believe. So if the Hurricanes play 28 postseason games, I think you will ultimately see Kochetkov play 9, 10 of those games, and Anderson will play the rest. I think that's the way it should probably work. All right, we had fun. We had joy. We had fun. Yeah, I'm not finishing the lyric. We have been brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job. Shouts to Bogota, to Denmark, to the High Country, to Denver, to Bluefield, to OKC, to Montreal. Love your city. I was sick as a dog in Montreal, but that was not Montreal's fault. I was actually not sick. I had an infection after some oral surgery. But you didn't need to know that. Until the Hurricanes play the Kings on Saturday night, we'll be here on the Canes Corner podcast. Do me this favor. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. If you know a Hurricanes fan that doesn't subscribe, have them subscribe. Follow this on YouTube. We're here after every Hurricanes game. And follow the Canes Corner podcast wherever you might get other podcasts, because these go out both ways. So we'd love your support. We'd love your feedback. Give us a rating. Please do that for the people who run podcasts back at the home office. It's not me. It's for them. All right. I'm Adam. We'll see everybody after the Canes and the Kings coming up on Saturday. Good night.